Hi everyone, Bandanner here. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to something different for a Saturday. I have put off for a very long time playing 1v1 games and ranked and things like that, purely because I'm old and slow. But I decided after much deliberation I'd like to try and play it a little bit more. I've played about 6 1v1s in total. Plus what I'm about to show you, which is my first ever ranked game, which I played live on stream on Wednesday this week, and I played my second ever ranked game after that. So you can go and watch the VOD if you want and see my stressing out at the time. However, I thought I'd go back and have a little look at the games that I played. So today we'll do the first ever ranked game I played, and then we'll do the second ranked game I played. Unlike when I do my usual cast, it's going to be a little bit different. I'll be looking at it from my point of view, because it's me playing. And I'll also be talking about all the stupid stuff I did and got wrong, because there was plenty of it. So, my opponent here in blue on the right hand side is playing as the 24th, so the new division. And I'm over on the left in red playing as the 39th. So let's just have a look at what our friend has here. We've got a couple of NG scouts heading up to these positions here, and a sniper heading up here. At the back we have some military patrols, military police patrols I should say, an M1 IP Abrams command, a chaparral, a pivads and a tow 2 getting fairly far up there. And then at this side we have some MP patrols, MP Patrol M67s, Abrams, Pivads, and another command tank. So spending heavily on command tanks at that side. If we spin round, I've gone for quite the opposite. So my plan on this map was very simple. I'm taking Delta, and then I'm taking Foxtrot. Super aggressive. So Razvedka out at the front, one going to each point, this one just going to the back here. I've got an Igla heading this way. That's it. Everything else is going to this side. So at this side we have 2 Strellas, a T-80BV Commander T-80BV, 2 BMP-3s, a Motorstrelki, a Conkers, a Motorstrelki Metis, and an Igla. So I'm being very, very aggressive. As I say, this Conkers is the only thing that's not going to the top, and that's going to the middle, just to cover for anything that might try and push across. So my plan here is to push into Delta and push into Foxtrot, and completely ignore the other side of the map. If you have forward deployment forces, it's actually not too bad to get into Alpha, but if you don't, I think it's very difficult. And as Lathans has told me before, this is pretty much a bit of a trap, and you're not going to beat the other side there, realistically. Probably get scouts there before the MP patrols, but realistically, it's risky to go in there straight away. Your opponent's probably going to be there first. Here, it can be mixed. Some people split their forces like this person did. Some people will send very little and just plan to hold their side. My intention was to plow through. So we'll let everything deploy and we'll switch over to the controller. Again, as I say, I'm just completely giving up this side of the map. Now, the reason that I will do that is because what you also have to bear in mind is the gap between that point and this point is quite big. And the gap between this point and this point is quite big. But here, everything's quite close. So if you are very aggressive at this side of the map, it's not too far to push through. Now, don't get me wrong, this does work, but I make mistakes along the way, and there's other things I could have done to push my advantage even more, and I'll talk about those as we go. I also let Lathans have a look at these replays, and he sort of talked me through the things that I did wrong as well, which was very beneficial. He's capped this. My command is sat on the edge of the point. It's supposed to be going in there. You can see the T-80PVK. This is me starting to just pummel these infantry in here. So that's 2 MP patrols. He's rolling that tank up to the edge here. I will spin us around slightly just so we can see the entire map. But you can see I'm prepping to be aggressive here. I've chased those infantry out of that building already. My tanks are rolling in now. He has got a bit of an advantage in points. I've also got an Mi-24 rocket attack chopper coming in the back there. I brought that in to be able to deal with the infantry in the buildings at this side. At the other side, my opponent is moving through that point, but isn't being aggressive. Obviously, he's just going to take that point, whereas here I am going to take this point and keep pushing. Tow 2, that's exactly why I brought in the rocket attack, is to kill that Tow 2. I wanted it gone because it poses a threat to my tanks because it does a lot of damage. He brings up the pivads here now to engage me, and I will back that chopper off because I don't want to lose it. It's done its job. It's done what I brought it in for. Everything else is now just charging across here. Get the infantry out first and then let the tanks and everything else mop up what's behind. I did lose my BMPs here, but I wasn't too bothered about that. The most important thing right now was keeping those tanks alive. If I'd kept the BMPs alive, it would have been better. I should have been more careful with them, but I can live without that. So he's had to back off. Obviously, the Pivads is dead. He's got the Chaparral left, and he's got the Abrams there. I'm just pushing. I want that tank dead. Sniper here doesn't really pose any threat to me. That's finished off. So I'm going for this whole point. At the other side of the map, my opponent hasn't really progressed very far. The Chaparral does get a nice hit on my chopper, and I do have to retreat that back. But unfortunately, Chaparral gets the final blow. A little bit disappointing that I lost the chopper. I did want to try and keep that alive, as it would have come in handy later. But there we go. My opponent here is relying on the National Guard M1 Abrams and bringing those in and bringing in a load of forces here. Now, what my opponent is not doing at the moment, here comes a seed, by the way, so he does have seed in. I completely ignored this fact, by the way, and stupidly do lose cubs later in the game to a seed coming in like that, which is completely on me for not thinking, oh, he does have seed. One of my failures in this game and the second game I played was a lack of utilizing my air assets correctly, actually. So just something for me to bear in mind for future games. As you can see at the other side, I have brought in Mostrelki and a BMP-3 there, and throughout the game I do bring in the odd unit there. Now, in retrospect, and speaking to Lathans, it was kind of a mistake to bring in so much over there. What I should have done is brought them into this forest here, and then pushed them in around the back of that other point, basically to cut off that person's resupply and take the other point off them as well. Here, my T80BV and T80 BVK coming up the back there. All of these are engaging now. My intention here, obviously, to try and kill these tanks, kill the Tow 2. I have taken some damage there, though. But I've done some serious damage to them. My infantry taking a wide route to get into this point. But I need them up there to try and engage these tanks at close range. And now comes the push. This tank is going straight into that point. I'm capping that. I want that point, and I'm not going to let it go if I can help it. If we zoom out and just have a look at the rest of the map now, you'll see that I've called in a cub here. Ideally, I probably should have called that in further, and I also should have been paying attention to it. It should have been on a control group, and it wasn't, so I could turn its weapon on and off. HE Bomber comes in here, going for my infantry. Does kill one squad. But again, I was not being very good at controlling my aircraft at this stage. I can't even remember if I'd bought one. But I was very bad at calling them in full stop, which is something I need to pay attention to. Now, the other thing was, I got to here and then I struggled to get into the other side of this forest. What I should have done at this point, if you'll take a look at the map, if I zoom out, is I should have taken that command tank and gone straight to here. I should have just plowed across the middle of the map. My opponent had nothing there. I didn't bother to check, but I could have just plowed across, capped that point, and really messed up my opponent. They then wouldn't have known whether they should call stuff in at the top, at the bottom, reinforce this point, pull stuff back from that front point. You know, I had an opportunity that I missed there to really throw my opponent off and really stress them out. And I failed to do so. So, lesson for me there. HE Bomber coming in again here, and I'm lacking anti-air up with these forces that are, you know, the Strelas at the back here, but, you know, they could have been further forward in this fight. Thankfully, he doesn't get anything this time. And my infantry badly damaged, but reinforcements are arriving as we speak, including some BMP3s there. Lots of engineers coming in for my opponent. At the other side, you can see I've got a Conkers in there, that T80BV. Nothing else brought in there. I did call in very late to the game. Another HE bomber coming in there. I think that was just doing a gun run. Again, you'll see that I finally get some shots off at that because it comes far enough over my AA, but I don't kill it. I did call in a command for that other point quite late in the game. That's why my opponent had such an advantage at the starting points. Again, HE bomber coming in. My lack of anti-air at the front here was costing me in that he was allowed to get these jets in, do some damage. He wasn't killing a lot with them, but the fact that he was free to do that was a failure on my part. And this is where I move that Strela up. My infantry are engaging the engineers. I'm trying to utilize the BMPs there to kill the engineers because obviously they don't do a lot to the BMPs. Unfortunately, he did have fire teams with AT4s there as well, so it didn't really pan out completely. T80BVK somehow is getting away with not moving and firing a lot at my opponent there. And here comes my laser guided bomber, which I'm trying to drop on the enemy infantry. And I do get one squad. Not the ideal thing, but it was all I had in the deck that I could utilize for that. Seed comes in, stuns that one, manages to kill the one at the back here. Again, as I say, very sad for me. I wasn't paying enough attention. That was completely my own fault. This cub takes another shot, but doesn't die. And the Strela does try to get some shots off at that, but obviously Seed pretty good. Cub at the back gets the final blow though. So not a complete loss, but a shame I lost a Cub because I wasn't paying enough attention and didn't have them on a control group to turn them on and off. This is where it gets interesting. Strike Eagle coming in here, obviously very, very strong. Should be going for my tank, I think. I roll my tank forward and surprisingly it hits the building with one bomb and the other one kind of catches my tank but doesn't kill it. Which really, I was expecting my tank to die there. So I think I got very lucky. As I say, I don't think he could see it perhaps, so he just targeted ground. It will come back for another pass here. Obviously, it's got lots of bombs to drop. There it goes. It's going to go for the MTLB, I think. Which it does kill, but I'm not too bothered about losing that. I've got another Cub coming in here. At the moment, all quiet at the other side still. My opponent hasn't made any move there at all. I'm slowly building up forces there because I'm thinking eventually maybe I need to push into that point. Again, I could have just gone into his back point, which I didn't even think about at the time, to be honest. It crossed my mind once, I think, at the very start when I first took this point here. I thought, could I push across? But I didn't in the end. Again, HE bombers coming in. As I say, my opponent here using a lot of aircraft. Now, it's not a terrible idea, but it's obviously not being massively effective. He's brought in a lot of aircraft to try and kill my command tank there and has failed to do so. So I think he got into a bit of a loop of just relying on aircraft and it wasn't doing what he wanted it to do. I keep turning around because shortly I bring in my laser guided bomber to start hitting targets at the other side of the map. My opponent obviously still bringing in units at this side. More engineers and some Abrams coming in. My Motostocky Metas coming in to reinforce this point. Again, it's just more to have infantry there to try and absorb and do damage to the engineers. I'm not expecting them to deal with the Abrams. Here's the laser guided bomber. I can see that command tank at the front, and there's the kill. Obviously, laser guided bomber taking a lot of fire here. There's a lot of stuff there, and it does go down. So, an unfortunate loss, but at least I got the command tank, and I'm making my opponent think, do I need to bring in more stuff over there? And indeed he does. He immediately purchases an M1 IP Abrams over there. So I've now forced my opponent to replace something over there, and he's spending less on this point that I'm currently in. Still, currently +6 to me, as I completely control this point. But again, look at the amount of units I've got over here. Lathans was completely right. I mean, I've got T80BVK, or T80BK, sorry, and 2 T80BVs there. You know, that's a lot of points of units. If I had moved those over here and come in behind this person, I could have done a lot of damage with those potentially. Whereas at the moment, they just sat there. So it is a bit of a waste. Had I needed to push across, they probably would have been reasonably successful. What was actually in there that could stop them was one M1 Abrams, so I could have also pushed there. I never did. I was thinking I'd build up enough forces, and if I needed to, I'd push it. So my long-term plan wasn't bad, but I could have caused more problems with those units and utilized what I'd spent on them sooner. So my opponent gets back in here. There's a Strike Eagle flittering around at the back there. Big issue, this forest here. I mean, if you could take this forest, I think you'd really be able to stop the enemy getting in there. Strike Eagle is coming in. Can't remember what a target is here. I don't think it dropped any bombs. I thought it was going to go for my tanks, but it didn't actually drop. And it comes back around for another pass. Definitely going for a tank. Yeah, trying to get the T80BV, which, again, for some reason, I don't know if he was targeting ground, but he doesn't really seem to catch anything. And obviously, I've been reasonably successful here. I've had a lot of damage to the T80BV, and I've lost most of my infantry. But I still feel like I'm alright here. T80BVK, obviously, in a decent position there. Again, nothing coming in at that bottom point. I really could have pushed it in retrospect, or as Lassen suggested, go around the back of the point effectively to take the other rear point of my opponent. There we go. My T80BV is getting repaired there, and really I'm not scared of that Abrams. I'm just biding my time. I control the point. I'm +6 right now. This is my bomber coming in to get that Abrams, I think. SU-25 coming in to get the Abrams. Unfortunately, he smokes. Sad times for me. SU-25 just hangs around at the back for the time being. You will notice an Apache is on its way in, though. Again, absolutely nothing happening at the other side of the map, so I'm just ignoring it. Here's another one of those Strike Eagles. They're very good because they're very hard to hit. I do have a Cub here. Unfortunately, it is out of ammunition. Abrams there trying to get a kill on my supply vehicle. Almost does. Very lucky supply. It wasn't the end of the world if it died, but it would have been nice to keep it alive either way. SU-25 is coming in. It's going for the tank initially, and then I think I redirected to go for the Apache. I've got an SU-27S going for the Strike Eagle. Strike Eagle, unfortunately, gets my SU-25. SU-27S going for that Strike Eagle. Does do some damage, but I don't think I get the final blow on it. I think it does get out here. Yeah, I evac my SU-27 at that point. Very hard to hit the F-15E. But my T80BV is fully repaired, so it will now move up to engage that Abrams. Calling in a few more reinforcements, but the game is over at that point. A short game in many respects, but T80 at the start there doing a very good job, and the follow-up T80 that I called in afterwards doing a really good job as well. They were really my mainstay units. My LGB did a reasonable job. The Laser Guided Bomber, not too bad at all. And then over on the other side, obviously that Abrams was doing a lot of damage in that point. Managed to kill quite a few units. I think probably the worst thing for me was probably the Strela more than anything else. Other than that, there's nothing really stand out. The Eagle didn't really seem to be doing a lot with its bombs. I can only assume that he didn't have eyes on my units very often. The HE bomber obviously got a decent amount of kills, and the fighting T4 did quite well when I pushed into that forest there. But otherwise, I felt like I had reasonable map control, but there was obviously stuff I could have done better, most certainly. Thanks everyone for watching. Please do like, share, subscribe. Stay tuned on the channel. I will stick up my other ranked game that I played after that in a day or two. See you all soon.